the heart of the city, nestled in the dimly lit alleyways, there stood a small, out-of-the-way nightclub known as Club Eclipse. With its pulsating neon sign and an eerie, enigmatic aura, Eclipse was a place where the line between reality and the supernatural was blurred. It was whispered that the club had a dark secret, one that went beyond the pounding bass and hypnotic strobe lights. One chilly October evening, a group of thrill-seekers decided to unravel the mysteries that shrouded Eclipse. Among them was Sarah, an adventurous spirit with a penchant for the unknown. They arrived as night descended, and the atmosphere was charged with otherworldly anticipation. Eclipse's exterior was unassuming, just a simple unmarked door flanked by brick walls that seemed to absorb the surrounding city's sounds and lights. The line to enter the club was long, filled with a mix of curious souls, city dwellers, and tourists eager to explore the legendary night spot. Sarah and her friends, Mark, Lisa, and Mike, had heard tales of Eclipse for years, but it had taken some liquid courage to finally persuade them to enter. As they approached the nightclub, the chilling breeze of the night made them shiver, and an unexpected feeling of unease washed over them. The bouncer, a hulking figure with vacant eyes, examined their IDs without a word. Without warning, the doors swung open, revealing the club's interior bathed in an eerie, otherworldly light. The pounding bass reverberated through their chests as they crossed the threshold into Eclipse, and the adventure of a lifetime began. Inside, the music was deafening, and the air was thick with a cocktail of mystique and menace. The dance floor was alive with writhing silhouettes, lost souls seemingly entranced by the ghostly beats. The lighting was surreal, an ever-shifting palette of neon colors that cast eerie, ever-changing shadows on the dancers. The bartenders, their faces half hidden in shadow, served drinks that glowed like potions. The taste was unlike anything they had ever experienced, a mixture of the sweet and the sinister, pulling them deeper into the web of Eclipse's allure. The group exchanged nervous glances as they sipped the strange elixirs, their initial discomfort giving way to intoxicating thrill. As they drank, the group of friends danced and laughed, the music driving them into a frenzy. Lisa's laughter rang out as she twirled with a stranger who seemed to materialize out of thin air. Mike and Mark each found their partners on the dance floor, while Sarah was swept up in the crowd, surrounded by the pulsating energy of the club. As the night grew darker, an abrupt power outage plunged the club into blackness. Panic rippled through the crowd as the music abruptly ceased. Stranded in the inky abyss, the revelers groped for their phones, trying to illuminate the chaos that surrounded them. It was then that a shiver coursed down Sarah's spine as she felt an icy hand grasp her wrist. Turning toward the source, she saw a translucent figure, a spectral dancer in elegant 1920s attire, beckoning her to join. Her friends, terror-stricken, watched as Sarah was led to the center of the dance floor. In the pitch blackness, the disorienting sound of shuffling feet and whispering voices enveloped them. The voice of the spectral dancer echoed through the void, chilling in its eerie, ethereal tone. "Welcome to Eclipse, where the living and the departed converge," it murmured, its words resonating deep within their souls. As the spectral lights slowly began to return, Sarah found herself surrounded by not just one ghostly dancer, but a multitude of them. Each was adorned in vintage attire, their eyes empty, yet somehow full of emotion. The music changed to an eerie, yet alluring melody, and the spirits of the past materialized around her. These were not ordinary spirits, but those who had frequented Eclipse in its prime during the Roaring Twenties. They danced with a passion and grace that transcended time, and Sarah couldn't help but be entranced by their movements. The haunted souls swayed in the moonlight, dancing with Sarah as if she were a ghost herself. The ethereal dance went on, twisting and twirling to a spectral symphony that resonated with long-lost pain and forgotten desires. It was as if the music held the memories of countless lost souls, and for a brief moment, Sarah felt she was part of their eternal tapestry. As dawn approached, the spirits released Sarah, and the lights flickered back to life. The club was once again filled with the living, but their faces held the haunted look of those who had glimpsed the afterlife. Eclipse had granted them an experience beyond their wildest nightmares, and the encounter left its mark on their souls. The haunting rhythms of the spectral dance had ended, but the memories lingered, as did the bittersweet connection Sarah felt with the departed souls. She returned to her friends, who were equally spellbound and awed by what they had just witnessed. With the first light of day, they left the enigmatic nightclub, their hearts heavy with the memories of the haunting rhythms they had danced to. Eclipse would forever remain etched in their minds, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead blurred into something otherworldly and terrifying. From that night on, Sarah and her friends couldn't shake the feeling that they had been touched by the spirits of Eclipse. They were haunted by the memories of that supernatural dance, forever changed by their encounter with the enigmatic nightclub. Whenever the eerie glow of the moon bathed the city, they would find themselves drawn back to the dimly lit alleyways, to the haunting rhythms of Eclipse. The club seemed to beckon them, and they couldn't resist the pull. Each visit to Eclipse revealed more of its mysteries. Sarah learned to communicate with the spirits through dance, a silent language that transcended time. She listened to their stories, shared their pain, and offered them solace. It was as if she had become a bridge between the living and the dead, bringing closure to the restless souls who found solace in the club's ethereal dance floor. The haunting rhythms of Eclipse became an intrinsic part of their lives, an experience they couldn't escape. They became known as the enigmatic dancers who had ventured into the unknown, the ones who had unraveled the secrets of the nightclub. Years passed, and Eclipse's legend continued to grow. It drew in a steady stream of curious souls, thrill seekers, and those searching for a connection with the beyond. The enigmatic nightclub remained a place where the living and the departed converged, where the haunting rhythms of the past echoed into eternity. Sarah, Mark, Lisa, and Mike had become the guardians of Eclipse, ensuring that the spirits found solace and that the memories of the club were preserved. They had found a sense of purpose in their connection to the supernatural, a bond that would last for as long as the nightclub itself. Eclipse remained a place of mystery and wonder, a place where the line between reality and the supernatural was forever blurred, where the haunting rhythms of the past continued to captivate the living and the departed, binding them in an eternal dance that transcended time and space. But with time, Eclipse revealed even darker secrets. Whispers began to circulate about the club's past, stories of a cursed dance floor, where the spirits of those who had been lured into the spectral waltz were forever trapped. Guests who had ventured into the depths of the club reported eerie encounters with the disembodied voices of the departed, beckoning them to join the dance. People who had experienced Eclipse's haunting rhythms claimed to have nightmares that lasted for days. They spoke of voices in their heads, tormenting them with cryptic messages, urging them to return to the club. A sense of foreboding and dread seemed to emanate from the very walls of the club, as if Eclipse itself were a sentient being, hungry for more souls to ensnare. As Sarah and her friends continued their visits, they couldn't ignore the mounting unease that accompanied them. The spectral dancers they had once embraced now seemed desperate, their expressions twisted with pain and longing. Each visit to Eclipse became a descent into the abyss of the supernatural, as if they were caught in a never-ending nightmare. Despite the growing fear, Eclipse's allure remained irresistible. The club's haunted dance floor called to them, like a siren's song, pulling them further into the realm of the supernatural. The spirits of the past seemed to grow more insistent, their spectral hands reaching out to entwine with the living, as if they sought a way to break free from the eternal cycle of the dance. Sarah, Mark, Lisa, and Mike found themselves trapped in a macabre dance of their own, unable to escape the clutches of Eclipse. The once enchanting melodies had become a cacophony of torment, the ethereal lights casting elongated, ghastly shadows on the walls. The darkness within the club was now an oppressive force, smothering the living and the departed in a shroud of despair. The spirits, who had once appeared graceful and elegant, now moved with a frantic desperation, their eyes filled with a haunting anguish. One fateful night, the boundaries between the living and the dead seemed to blur even further. Eclipse's spectral dancers began to reach out to the group with an unrelenting fervor, their translucent fingers caressing their flesh, their whispers haunting their minds. As Sarah danced, a ghostly figure with hollow eyes locked onto her, its gaze filled with an insatiable hunger. The dance grew increasingly frenetic, the music an agonizing cacophony that threatened to shatter their sanity. The spirits began to surround the group, their incorporeal forms pressing in, suffocating the living. Mark, Lisa, and Mike's faces contorted with terror as they felt the relentless grasp of the spectral hands. Their cries for help were drowned out by the chaotic wails of the departed, their eyes wide with torment. Eclipse, once a place of fascination, had become a prison of eternal suffering, a vortex of lost souls that threatened to consume the living. In a moment of clarity, Sarah realized the gravity of their situation. The club had become a malevolent entity, a vortex of despair and torment, and they were on the precipice of being consumed by it. With the last remnants of her strength, she forced herself to break free from the spectral dancers and reached for her friends. The spirits resisted, their wails growing louder, their desperation intensifying, but Sarah's determination prevailed. She pulled Mark, Lisa, and Mike away from the ghostly figures, leading them toward the club's exit. As they stumbled through the darkness, they could feel Eclipse's sinister influence clawing at their minds, refusing to let go. Finally, they burst through the doors and into the cold night air. The club's haunting rhythms still reverberated in their ears, and the sense of impending doom lingered. They knew that they had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, an eternity of madness. Eclipse had almost claimed their souls as its own. Eclipse continued to stand, an ominous presence in the city's dimly lit alleyways, its supernatural secrets hidden from most. The stories of the club's malevolence circulated in hushed tones, a warning to those who dared to venture into its depths. The enigmatic dance floor, once an object of fascination, had become a symbol of terror and torment. Sarah, Mark, Lisa, and Mike had narrowly escaped Eclipse's clutches, but the haunting memories of their experiences lingered. They became advocates for those who ventured too close to the club, warning them of the malevolent force that dwelled within. Their encounters had left them scarred, their once carefree lives forever altered by the sinister dance of the departed. Eclipse remained a place of dark secrets, a testament to the enduring power of the supernatural. The nightclub continued to lure the curious and the daring, promising an experience beyond imagination. But for those who had witnessed its true nature, knew the price of crossing the threshold into the world of the dead. In the end, Eclipse's haunting rhythms persisted, the macabre dance of the departed that transcended time, beckoning the living to join in a nightmarish dance of the afterlife. The club's true nature would forever remain a chilling enigma, a place where the line between reality and the supernatural was irrevocably blurred. And the price of curiosity was steep, a descent into the abyss of eternal torment and madness.